All right, everyone. I'm going to grab my stuff right here, and we are going to do this again. I hope you guys are doing well. I don't know about you, but I have been enjoying this study. I have been, you may have noticed that it's coming out some in my preaching and in my prayer, talking about the practice of paying attention and being aware of the presence of God that is at work right where we are. I had a few things from this chapter that I just want to jump right into that I was reminded of. And doing my reading, of course, we are now formally, if I can get there, into chapter 5 and talking about an active life. This is the time of terse. I know that I've said this before, but I want to remind you once more that an outline of this whole book can really be found on page 21. Page 21, there you can see all of the divine hours as traditionally practiced by the religious orders, usually including the following. And then he goes on one by one by one. We've made our way again now to chapter 5 to the time of terse. Terce is the marker of mid-morning. It was at this third hour on the day of Pentecost that the Spirit came to the early Christian community as the enabling power of their witness. I actually like these opening quotes that he has here. The first is by Linda Stone, and then one by Dallas Willard, and then one by Jesus. The first, we live in an age of continuous partial attention. I'm going to talk more about this as Friedman, who's a famous kind of renowned sociologist and psychologist and scientist, has discussed this idea of continuous partial attention. The second quote there is, we need to ruthlessly eliminate hurry from our lives. I don't know if you've heard this quote before, both of these I have. To ruthlessly eliminate hurry from our lives. This is something that Leighton Ford is later on going to say is the great enemy of the life of the Spirit, hurry. You know, when I think about this idea of hurry and hurrying about, maybe it's because my son is 5 and started kindergarten today, face to face. And already I'm thinking about all the little things that maybe we could have done before this time of kindergarten. You know, I'm thinking about all of these weekends that we spent hiking and all of the time we spent together and how grateful I am for those days, because now it's a school day and I can't do that. I can't just go and grab them out of school on a Friday morning or something and take off up to Atlanta. We have to do it according to the school schedule. And I'm thinking about this idea of hurrying, and I wonder sometimes what we're hurrying for. What are we hurrying about? I think that this idea of ruthlessly working to eliminate hurry from our lives will truly create a more holy place for us to live. And then finally, you've got Jesus, who just says, only one thing is needed. One thing is needed. And our heart has a way of knowing what that one thing is. Heart has reasons that reason knows nothing of. I love that idea. Listen, I want to read to you out of a prayer that was written. I kind of compiled some prayers for us during Charge Conference. I hope you were here for that. I hope that was really a special service. I'm going to pull it up here because Katie Bailey is actually the one who read it, and you may remember that if you were here. Again, this was October 28th for our Charge Conference. We started our Charge Conference meeting with this prayer. A friar by the name of Brother Lawrence was assigned kitchen duty for the monastery back in the 1600s. Reflecting upon God, whose reach extended even into Brother Lawrence's little kitchen, he famously wrote, Lord of pots and pans and all things, since I've no time to be a saint by doing lovely things, or watching late with thee, or dreaming in the sweet dawn light, or storming heaven's gates, make me a saint by getting meals and washing up the plates. A young maidservant in England almost 100 years ago added, although I must have Martha's hands, I have a merry mind. What time I scrub the floor, accept this meditation, Lord. I haven't time for more. Warm all the kitchen with thy love, and light it with thy presence. In room or by sea, accept this service that I do it unto thee. These are people who found ways to slow down the quick pace of their life and make time for the work of God who is with them. Listen, I'm just going to do this as I did a few weeks ago when I wrote down some random words that stood out to me as I was reading the chapter. Again, I know that some of you like to listen to this ahead of time. Some of you like to listen back. Patricia Bassett, I've learned that we are not alone in doing these videos. Kim English, she took some time to type a comment down below. I know that Nathan Harden, you were able to respond to this to me vocally, as we were after church one Sunday. Listen, anybody that's watching this, I'm glad to have you coming along with us. I really do think that a lot of us will be better off by spending time with this book and being reminded of what the importance is to slow down and to pay attention. So here we are in Terce, talking about this third hour, this time of mid-morning when we are quickly going. And again, I was talking about this last week, but one of the things that Leighton Ford is doing is he is paralleling or connecting these ideas at the time of the day with the times of our lives. And I thought this was an especially impactful chapter, in part because I think I am in the hour of Terce in my life. This is the time when things are really going fast. You've done all the preparatory work. That of college is behind me. That of trying to figure out the stuff of careers is mostly behind me. I mean, who knows what's next? But I've really begun to kind of go straight into this thing of ministry. I've got 3 kids, and now they're 1, 3, and 5. They're not even little. And I have so much to think about. And I was really appreciative of this chapter in which Leighton Ford is reminding us again to just slow down and to pay attention to things right where we are. So one of the words that I wrote down is in italics, as it is on the top of page 101. It's the Latin word distractus, which I think is interesting because it's basically distract us. Distractus, literally meaning to draw or pull apart. It can have a very innocuous sense. A distraction can be an amusement or a diversion that relaxes us, but more seriously, a distraction is a pull away from what deep down we know is our fundamental goal, purpose, or direction. This idea of being pulled apart really spoke to me because I do believe that our distractions have a way of doing that, pulling apart the goals and the ideas that we have for the day. We know that we are supposed to be setting out to accomplish a certain thing for the day. It can be mundane, it can be small, but whatever it is that we're setting out to do with our day, we have lots of distractions that have a way of pulling us apart to the point in which sometimes we're not even capable of tending to the needs and cares that we have that are leading us to that goal. I wrote down the word dissertation writing because I am in the middle of doing dissertation writing right now. I'm planning to graduate in May, but I have a lot of work to do between now and then and have been working at it all year long. It's taking a lot of time to work through this part of my schooling. And I find that when I make time for my dissertation writing, suddenly I have energy to do everything but write my dissertation. And sometimes I'll end up writing my sermon for the week, or I'll end up working on the Bible study, or I'll end up doing something that I need to do around the house, or I'll go mow the lawn, or grab the weed eater and weed. I'll find all kinds of things but write my dissertation. And those things are good, but sometimes they are distracting us from the best. That's what one thing that Leighton Ford writes here, is that we are, sometimes by living into these distractions, we're tending to the needs of the moment, but we are sacrificing the greater purpose of what we're attempting to do. And so I wonder what are some of these distractions for you that may be coming out and coming about. And I wonder what some of the goals that you might have are that are being taken away from you as you are working like I am to accomplish some kind of goal. It doesn't have to be writing a dissertation. It could be anything, some kind of hobby or job or side project or something around the house or taking care of a relationship that you have with a friend or a loved one. Distractions have a way of setting in. Even good distractions have a way of setting in when we're trying to accomplish something of the day. There's a quote here, perhaps in a fast world we could use a slow church. This is actually what reminded me of the prayer that I read for Charge Conference, to have a merry mind in a Martha world. Perhaps the church's role right now is to slow down. I believe that. I was just talking with someone, I can't remember why, we were talking about contemporary worship in different styles of church, and I was talking to them about, if I hadn't been appointed to a church and I was worshiping with my family, what kind of church we would go to. And for me, it would be a slower church. It wouldn't be something that has programming all the time, every moment, for every age group. I think there's something really beautiful about a smaller church. I think there's something really wonderful about everybody coming in together into a room at the same time, while of course also having programming for people of different ages. But this shouldn't be a course in athletics trying to be a member of the church. And for me, I do think that sometimes the church buys right into the consumer culture that's before us, the Martha culture that's constantly picking at things and moving about. When in reality, Jesus is here. And he's like, hey, look at me. I'm right here with you. I wonder what it might mean to be a slow church in a fast world. Not slow in our activities necessarily, but just slow enough to catch wind of what the Spirit is doing. And maybe catch wind of how the Spirit might be changing. Of course, the Spirit doesn't change, but changing us in a culture that may be running perilously down a track. It may be that the Spirit of God is calling the church to take a small detour and to become a lifeboat for others who are on that boat of the Titanic heading straight towards an iceberg. I believe that this is truly a part of the call of the church, is to slow down even in mid-step and pay attention to what we're doing. The other thing that I wrote down, and this is really the last thing, besides a quick practice that I want to do with you, is to talk about this idea of continuous partial attention. Guilty. Continuous partial attention. This is where you are navigating your life with 10 pots on the stove at the same time. And the problem with constantly doing that is eventually you will wear yourself down and you will not give the best version of yourself to any of these individual things. Living in a life of continuous partial attention is one that is ripe for distraction that could lead you in a dangerous place. I think it's something that we need to pay attention to. And so I want to offer you a contemplative practice that has been helpful for me in times past as I have gone through times like this in my own life, and maybe where you're at, where everything seems to be going very quickly. It comes to us out of, the one I'm going to do today, you can really do this with lots of different Bible verses, is out of Psalm chapter 46, verse 10. Psalm chapter 46, verse 10. I'm going to pull it up here out of my Bible, even though it's one that I know by heart. I want to see how it's translated here in the NIV. Psalm chapter 46, verse 10. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations.